All right. So we're going to go through all these terms. And if I skip over one, it's not because we're not going to talk about it. It's because we're going to do quick stuff first and then longer stuff at the end. Okay? So, quasi-war. Quasi-war is going to be in the late 1700s. In particular, when I said not eat popcorn, I implied all food. It's okay. I'm excited to see you eat it in 20 minutes. So, quasi-war is going to be in the late 1800s, or in 1700s, 1798 and 1799. What you need to know is it is following the American Revolution, and because of this, we're going to get into a trade war with France. It's going to be a naval war. There's going to be blockades, and it basically becomes our first conflict internationally following the new republic and the creation of a new government. Yes.
Is that the one where they didn't actually fight though?
We fought in the Navy.
Okay.
Yeah, we fought in the Navy.
Okay, and then so alien invasion actually connected to the XYZ affair.
Guys, Alien Sedition Acts is actually the War of 1812, as well as the XYZ affair. So the XYZ affair is, remember, that's when we went and made a secret deal with France. And then the Alien and Sedition Act is also passed during this time, which bans you from being able to talk poorly about the government. We kind of just ended it. No, nothing was gained or lost. I think it solidified to France that we were a country. Not much happened because of the Quasi-War. If they ask you that, that would be a really bad question. Okay. Détente. So, détente is going to be following the Vietnam War. It begins a new era in the Cold War. Détente literally means relaxing of tensions. We're going to relax our tensions with the USSR, and we are basically not going to fight wars anymore. We're just going to relax our tensions, ease off of it, and not fight. It's kind of like these two people huffing and puffing, getting in each other's faces, and they just agree to separate and walk away. That's kind of what détente is. It's easing of relations with the USSR. Yeah.
What's the spirit of Geneva? Because that was just a word I saw somewhere that was also related to relaxing tension.
My guess is, because we meet at Geneva every single year for peace accords, my guess is that has to do with the peace accord that was signed in Geneva.
Okay.
I don't know specifically though.
Does that officially end the Cold War?
No, officially the ending of the Cold War is when the USSR dismantles in 1991. Détente is like the beginning of the end, though, basically. Okay. All right. Dawes Act, end of the 1800s. Dawes Act establishes the reservation system in America. So basically we had reservations before. This is going to be like our finite. We're done with the Indian wars. We're done with conflicts with natives, with wars. And it puts them all into very small reservations. It reduces their size. The Dawes Act creates our current reservation system that is almost the same boundaries as today.
When was that?
This is going to be in 1898. 1898. So following the Indian Wars. And this is going to be, other than the American Indian movement in the 60s, this is going to be the final Native American part that's going to come up on the AP exam. Think westward migration, westward movement. Okay. All right. Monroe Doctrine. So Monroe Doctrine is going to be in 1820. This is where we said that Americas are closed, north, south, and middle. Americas are closed from European colonization and European influence. Basically, the Americas are closed for colonization, impacts from Europe, things like that. However, that does not close the Americas for America. So basically, colonization is banned from Europe, but America can go and colonize too, which is why we can do the Spanish-American War. Monroe Doctrine. 1820. Okay, Northwest Ordinance. So the Northwest Ordinance is going to be a positive effect of the Articles of Confederation. You won't have an SAQ on it, because that was last year's SAQ. But in terms of a positive, the Northwest Ordinance is established by the Articles. It basically establishes an area that is free of slavery and allows people to move westward. It's one of the positives of the Articles. It's basically the only positive of the Articles of Confederation.
So that undoes the Proclamation Line.
Yeah, well, because the Proclamation Line was by Britain. So this destroys the Proclamation Line.
But that was like last year's SAQ, right?
Yep. Last year's SAQ was positives of the Articles, negatives of the Articles, And I think the other one was a similar time period when the Articles were, or like how America changed the Articles for the better, which is basically the Constitution.
So all three SAQs related?
No. Well, no, so that is, so remember how there's A, B, and C? That was the one SAQ. Okay. Okay, so Haymarket Square Strike. So Haymarket Square Strike was, remember, in the industrialists. So this was in our labor unions in the late 1800s. So the Haymarket Strike was the one where they went and did a labor union presentation in front of this square called the Haymarket Square. Then as everybody was leaving, somebody threw a bomb. It exploded. The police began to shoot each other, and it becomes a massive amount of death. Something like 20 people died, including police officers. So the Haymarket Square, the Haymarket Strike is going to come out of all of that. So what happens basically is that they are going to advocate for better rights and things like that, but it ends with a Haymarket Square riot, which is the bomb. Yeah.
Could you tell us the years of all of these before you define the ones?
Haymarket Square Strike, Haymarket Strike is about 1890-ish. 1890-ish. Around that time. 1890 to 1900. Following the trusts. D-Day is going to be in 44. June 6, 1944. So, D-Day is going to be, there's two major war tactics that you need to know for World War II. The first one is island hopping. So remember, that's when we hopped island to island like stepping stones to get to Japan. D-Day is the turning point. So D-Day is going to be where we turn, we invade the beaches of Normandy, we are now on the offensive, and Germany is going to retreat. So D-Day is the turning point of World War II. I doubt it'll be on the AP exam. Okay. Counterculture, anti-Vietnam. That's where it starts. So anti-Vietnam, this is basically hippie movement. That's what this is. Love, peace sign, peace in Vietnam, Woodstock, drugs, revolutions in a lot of ways, personal revolutions, things like that. This is basically the counterculture is going to be opposite of the culture, so not accepting in the cultural norms. Hey, where did you put my key? Hi. At the end of class, you need to open that up, lock that, and give me back my key.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, great. Okay, anyways, so that's the counterculture movement. Okay, Immigration Act of 1965. You would know that if you had done the extra lectures on YouTube, which only I had 27 views. So, I know a lot of you guys didn't do it. Go watch the extra lectures. They're only 15 minutes long. They're very short. And you need to know Great Society. You need to know Period 9, and those are all going to be on there. They're all online already. So go look at them. Okay? Immigration Act of 1965. That is going to be where they're going to basically make it illegal to make a quota system. So quota systems are gone. Immigration is going to skyrocket in America, and it's going to bring back families. Oh, yeah? Oh, by the way, so this really weird thing happened today. So I was texting my husband, and I went to go send him a picture, and it was so weird because I had this picture on my phone that was totally not something I took. Know anything about that?
Yeah.
I don't.
Good luck on your reading test tomorrow.
They took selfies on my phone. Okay.
So was David.
So did David, that's right. Okay, Immigration Act of 1965 brings back families together and increases immigration, especially with Latin America and with Asia. Okay, progressivism. Progressivism is progress in culture and progress in society. We are going to progress as a nation and improve ourselves. Conservationism, labor unions, settlement houses, all of those are progressives. Oh, sorry, I forgot. 1890 to 1920. So we're going to progress. We're in a modern-day progressive era right now with the Me Too movement, the Parkland shootings. Those are all modern-day progressive eras. Also, the Great Society is a progressive era. Okay, settlement houses. Jane Addams. This is where immigrants are going to come into America. They need a place to stay, learning English, getting job skills. This becomes a halfway house for them, basically, where they can learn job skills, learn the English language. Jane Addams is going to be a person. Whole house. Devil baby. Devil baby. Settlement houses. Same. It's the Progressive era. So I believe that the first time was 1900 to 1920-ish. I think Whole House was like 1923 when it closed. Because then it was haunted by the devil baby. It's too dangerous.
Can you still go there?
Yeah, we talked about that. You can go rent a room there. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, common sense. Thomas Paine. He's going to write that it is common sense to declare war on England because it would be common sense to not be under England's rule because England is oppressive. So basically it's saying, why should you revolt against America? Or England. Revolt against England. Now, one thing about common sense, last year, that was on the DBQ, and it was actually Thomas Paine, but it was not common sense, it was the American crisis. And what happened is everyone wrote hips on the American crisis when it was actually common sense. American Crisis is another book. Just make sure that just because you see the name, it might not be the same person that you think.
You flipped it. People wrote hips on common sense.
Oh,
Sense, right?
no, they wrote hips on the American, or on common sense instead of the American crisis. Excuse me. Okay. Yep. That's the problem. They saw Thomas Paine and immediately thought common sense, but they didn't see the word American crisis next to the name Thomas Paine. Okay. We're doing it, guys. We got this. 10 minutes until Tyler gets to eat. Okay. Seneca Falls Convention. There are 3 feminist movements in America. 1840 to 1850. That's the Seneca Falls Convention. Susan B. Anthony. They get together. They try to get women's suffrage. It fails, but they're at least beginning the movement. Well, there's eras. So it's the women's rights era. Seneca Falls Convention was in 48. Then you have 1910 to 1930. Flappers, Progressive era, Women's Christian Temperance Union, Suffrage, all that's happening. And then you have the 60s and the 70s with Roe v. Wade and feminine mystique. Seneca Falls Convention, that's where they get together and they try for women's suffrage, and it fails. It starts the women's suffrage movement officially. Tecumseh War. Highly doubt you will have this question, but if you do, the Tecumseh War was right before the American Revolution. Are you awake? Okay, great. We're not in the rain anymore, so you should be wide awake.
Would you be more awake?
Okay. Well, I'm saying I gave him what he wanted, so now he can be awake in class. Okay. Tecumseh War was right before the Revolutionary War. This is when Tecumseh, the Native Americans, are going to uprise against the colonists. Basically, it's conflict over land. So it's an example of a Native American conflict over land. About 17, probably, I know. I just don't remember 1600s to 1700s. It's probably around 1700-ish. I think it was late 1600s because I think it was still the colonial era. Okay. All right. Whigs. Those are tricky. And this kind of goes into this one. Names of political parties and how they change. It's very confusing. We start with the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. Anti-Federalists are going to be, make sure that you're not listening to your headphones, by the way, we're still in class. So, Anti-Federalists are not going to support the Constitution. Small government, Jefferson. Anti-Federalists are going to be a big government, or Federalists are going to be big government, supporting the Constitution. Okay? Then we transition into Democratic Republicans as well as Republicans. Now, this is where it gets really, really, really wonky back and forth. Here's what I'll tell you about those two parties. They will probably not ask you a question on those two parties. Because the problem is they switch and they switch and they switch and they switch. Every 4 years, they're switching back and forth. The Whigs, you would need to know for the Whigs, Henry Clay. Henry Clay is going to break off. At this time, it's the Republican Party. The Whigs are going to break off. They're going to believe in a bigger government, the American system, and internal improvements. 4 years later, it switches, the Republicans, and so the Whigs are Democrats, and then it switches back. But the Whigs in general turned towards Republicans with Abraham Lincoln. Henry Clay is the one you're going to see. Whigs are hard. I really hope they don't ask you a Whig question because all the political parties between 1800 and 1900 are switch. Other things are going to be the Democrats. The biggest ones you'll need to know for Democrats are LBJ and FDR because those are going to be the ones that are going to be the Democrats that are going to be the most democratic in today's world. Whereas the Republicans is Ronald Reagan. You need to know Ronald Reagan for Republican. It gets very confusing. Switching back and forth. Okay. LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, Vietnam, Great Society, Civil Rights. So again, Vietnam, he's going to be the one that sent troops. This is going to be the starting point. Great Society, doing progressive era reforms, similar to the New Deal. And Civil Rights Movement, all the acts and legislation were by LBJ. Lyndon B. Johnson. XYZ affair, that's going to be when we are going to, in 1812, we're going to have a secret agreement with France. People began to distrust their government and felt like the government was making secret agreements with France. What?
No, I'm just putting it in the timeline method.
Oh, okay. It's confusing. XYZ affair I can almost guarantee will not be on the AP exam. Yeah.
Who is the guy who went to Britain and during this time period couldn't talk to Britain about nothing?
I got it.
Well, Madison went over.
Oh, wait, John Jay.
Oh, John Jay. Jay's Treaty.
We need to know that.
Okay. All right. Next one. Almost done. Compromise of 1820. That's going to be very important cause of the Civil War. Compromise of 1820. That is going to be the Missouri Compromise, otherwise known as the Great Compromise. There are actually 3 Great Compromises. So this one is going to make the line across east to west. Anything north of that line is going to be free. South of that line is going to be slave. Who's going to screw that up? California. Gold Rush. Or Gold Rush, not Cold Rush. Okay?
Gold Rush.
So, Compromise 1820, Henry Clay tries to patch the problem with slavery. Mexican-American War, 1830, yeah.
Sorry, about that, so it created like the North is...
Well, it said that anything north of the line would be free states, anything south of the line would be slaves.
I thought that was like the Northwest Ordinance.
No, Northwest Ordinance is back right in the Articles of Confederation. That's the 1700s. We just covered that. So Northwest Ordinance was designated by the Articles of Confederation. It allowed westward migration past the Appalachian Mountains.
Okay, so the Missouri Compromise establishes like the line.
Yes. To north and south. Mexican-American War, 1830s to mid-1840s. Basically, we're going to move west with Manifest Destiny. Moving west with Manifest Destiny is going to put us into Texas, which is owned by Spain. This conflict over the Texas land is going to begin the Mexican-American War. Because of it, we get the Mexican Cession, including many states. We also get the Gadsden Purchase, and we are going to add a third of our country, or a third of our current country, in following this time, and it's going to be Gadsden Purchase is the last major, or the last addition to the Constitution of the United States. But it's all westward migration, yeah.
Which states were included in the Gadsden?
Just the Gadsden Purchase? Well, so Mexican Cession is California, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. Gadsden Purchase is southern Arizona, southern New Mexico, and southern California. Okay, hold on. We're not done. Okay. Trust and industrialists. Trust is another fancy word for monopolies. Industrialists. Ford, Vanderbilt, Carnegie, all of those big, bad monopolies or robber barons. That's what the industrialists are going to be. That would be a Gilded Age question. Oh, by the way, in case the bell rings, don't forget to read Jackson. I think it might be the DBQ. Lincoln is going to use slavery as a war tactic during the Civil War, and then he's going to free the slaves and be known as the Great Emancipator. Spanish-American War was due to social Darwinism, economic interests abroad, and then the effects is colonial America, we become a world power, and all of AP US history is what you've learned this year.
Wait, what?
Yeah. If you have any additional questions, stay behind a second.